Caribbean islands are stunning, some with white sand beaches and crystal clear waters, others with lush rainforests and dramatic mountains. But who were the first people to discover these islands and call them home? Hi, everyone. Welcome to Paleo Logic. Today, we're exploring the first people in the Caribbean, mysterious roots and a past that should not have existed. What you're about to hear might shock you, so brace yourself because we're diving into history and prehistory. And stay tuned until the end for a special announcement. Let's jump right into it. The earliest evidence of human activity in the Caribbean dates back an impressive 5,000 years to the island of Jamaica. Imagine what life was like all those years ago. The Caribbean, as we know it today, did not exist. Instead, the region was home to the Arawak and Siboney-speaking peoples. These indigenous tribes had their own languages, cultures, and beliefs. They lived in small villages scattered across the islands, and they subsisted on a diet of fishing, hunting, and gathering. Their tools were rudimentary at best, but they were experts at surviving in their environment. It's truly remarkable to think about how much has changed over the course of just a few thousand years. Then, suddenly, out of nowhere, the mighty Taino arrived around 2,500 years ago, completely changing the course of Caribbean history forever. The Taino were a group of people who originated from South America and migrated north into the Caribbean islands. They were skilled farmers, growing crops such as cassava, sweet potatoes, and maize. They also developed advanced technologies like pottery and metalworking, which they used to create beautiful works of art and functional tools. In fact, the Taino are known for creating some of the most exquisite jewelry in the ancient world, pieces that are still prized by collectors today for their beauty and craftsmanship. I don't know about you, but that is really impressive. But that's not all. The Taino had a rich culture that was expressed through their art, music, and storytelling. They had a deep connection to nature and believed that the island they inhabited was sacred. The Taino society was structured around small chiefdoms, each with its own leader and governing council. The chiefs were often seen as intermediaries between the Taino and the spiritual realm, and they played an important role in maintaining order and resolving disputes among the villagers. The Taino also had a complex belief system that was based on a deep respect for the natural world. They believed that all living things were interconnected and that humans had a responsibility to live in harmony with the environment. This worldview is reflected in the Taino art and storytelling, which often depicted the natural world in a highly stylized and reverent manner. The Taino language is fascinating. It was a member of the Arawakan language family and had a significant impact on the languages spoken in the Caribbean today. Many of the place names in the region are derived from Taino words, and the Taino loanwords can be found in languages as far-flung as English, Spanish, and French. Sadly, the Taino language is no longer spoken, but its legacy lives on in the languages of the Caribbean. But their way of life was dramatically altered when the Europeans arrived. The Spanish began exploring and conquering the Caribbean in the 15th century, bringing with them diseases that devastated the native populations. Most of the Taino people were enslaved or killed, and their culture was suppressed. But despite this tragic end, the Taino people left behind a legacy that continues to inspire and amaze us today. Their art, their language, and their way of life are a testament to the ingenuity and creativity of the human spirit. By learning about the Taino, we gain a deeper understanding of the rich cultural heritage of the Caribbean and the importance of preserving our natural world. Now, let's shift gears and talk about a more recent discovery that's rewriting history. You won't believe this next revelation. Recent genetic studies have revealed that the Taino people were not the first inhabitants of the Caribbean. Wait, what? How could this be? I thought the Taino were the first people to settle in the Caribbean. Well, it turns out that there's a lot more to the story. It turns out that the Taino actually arrived in the Caribbean after another group of people known as the Siboney. The Siboney were a small group of nomadic hunter-gatherers who are believed to have arrived in the Caribbean around 4,500 years ago. They lived a simple life, traveling from island to island, surviving off of the land and leaving little trace of their existence behind. But here's where things get really interesting. Genetic testing of the remains of a man who died around 3,700 years ago on the island of Jamaica revealed that he was not related to the Taino or any other indigenous people of the Americas. Instead, his DNA showed that he was more closely related to the modern-day Arawak people of South America than he was to any other Native American population. This discovery suggests that the Siboney may have been the first inhabitants of the Caribbean, and that they arrived in the region long before the Taino did. However, the Siboney were never great builders or record keepers, so there isn't much evidence left of their existence. But their presence in the Caribbean is undeniable. This discovery raises a lot of questions that scientists are still trying to answer. For example, where did the Siboney come from, and how did they get to the Caribbean? And what happened to them? Did they die out, or did they assimilate with other groups? Unfortunately, we don't have all the answers yet, but it's exciting to think about what else we might learn about the Siboney in the future. In addition to the genetic evidence, there are a few other clues that suggest that the Siboney may have been the first inhabitants of the Caribbean. For example, the Siboney are believed to have used stone tools, but they didn't leave behind any pottery or other artifacts that would have helped archaeologists learn more about their culture. However, some researchers believe that the Siboney were actually the ones who taught the Taino how to farm and grow crops, which allowed the Taino to develop into a more complex society. So, who were the Siboney? Were they a lost civilization, the first people in the Caribbean, or just a footnote in history? Well, the truth is that we don't know much about them. But thanks to new technology, we may never know. As more research is conducted and new discoveries are made, we will continue to learn more about the Siboney and their place in history. As we continue to explore the Caribbean islands, it's important to remember that there is a rich history that stretches back thousands of years before Christopher Columbus ever set foot in the region. From the Taino to the Siboney, these islands have been home to a diverse array of cultures and people. While there's still much that we don't know about the past, it's important to acknowledge and celebrate the contributions of these early inhabitants and to honor their legacy. Who knows what other secrets the Caribbean islands are hiding? Maybe you'll be the one to discover the next piece of the puzzle. What do you think? Is there anything we missed? Let us know your thoughts. And if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Thanks for joining us on this journey through time. We'll see you next time.